Today we're going over the Family Ninja class banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. Ninja November continues on, and it's Take Your Daughter to Work Day for the Awakening crew. Duo Lucina and Chrom finally get a year-end pairing, and they got extra actions galore. Tharja will also unite with her daughter Nora, who is our Tempest Trials unit. Meanwhile, from Engage, more royal alts for Celine and Diamant. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus go over some general playstyle and build ideas. This year, we do not have a 4-star focus unit. Ninja Tharja will be a 5-star Red Mage Cavalier. 4th Red Mage ult for Tharja. For stats, she has 45 HP, 46 attack, 47 speed, 20 defense, and 20 res. Attack Super Boon is very great, and if it wasn't obvious, Tharja's gonna die if she gets touched. For all the skills, Tharja brings Luna and Defense from Smoke 3. Tharja will use her higher base HP for Resonance. 45 starting HP is good enough for the 50% DR piercing and 10 true damage. If Tharja can hit 50 HP, that'll get her the full 60% and 12 true damage. For those not familiar, the Ninja banner is heavily focused on brave weapons. Scroll of Curses is a Dynamite tome and has quite a lot of effects. First off, every turn of above 25% HP, Tharja grants plus 6 attack and speed, a bread type cooldown status, and a new Anathema status to herself and nearby allies within 2 spaces. Tharja will also have Contact Distance with a max of 3 spaces and accelerated specials. If she initiates, she gets Brave Attacks and Desperation. If Tharja were to initiate or the foe is healthy, she will also get bonus attack and speed equal to 6 plus 20% of her speed from start of combat. Anathema is Tharja's personal skill and is a status. It inflicts -4 speed, defense, and res on foes within 3 spaces during combat. OG Tharja's Refine had a similar effect, so Anathema is a 3-space rank debuff. Since Tharja can give it to her team, you can stack it quite a bit, especially when defending. For other effects, Tharja will have a Brave Tome with Desperation, so she's coming for those quad attacks. She also has a ton of attack and speed buffs, and its Slaying plus Bread type cooldown means lots of special opportunities. Tharja brings a new A skill, Slice with Sparrow. If the unit initiates, you get 3 effects, plus 8 attack and speed, free fall-up attack, and if the user has 2 positive statuses or the foe has 2 negative statuses, then you get 5 true damage per hit. Slice with Sparrow is another tier 4, 5, 6, whatever we're on, upgrade. It comes from Swiss Sparrow too, so very easy to inherit, and it can also go on everyone minus healers. The big takeaway is that this is a free follow-up skill from the A slot. You can pair this with Desperation as an alternative to no follow-up if you outspeed, and that's exactly what Tharja is going to do to get her quads. Tharja also grants 2 statuses to her team, so that's going to trigger the 5 true damage portion. Ninja Tharja is fairly straightforward as a quad attacking, long-range threat. Slice with Sparrow's free follow-up can cancel out 1 follow-up denial, which lets Scroll of Curses Desperation effect work if you outspeed. Tharja grants plus 6 attack and speed, Bread type cooldown, and her new Anathema status to nearby allies every turn. Slaying plus Bread type cooldown means Luna procs on the second Brave hit if no guarded tempo effects on the foe. Tharja can get a second activation on her 4th quad hit. Now Resonance provides 50% DR piercing and 10 true damage since Tharja has base 45 HP. After combat, she has Contact Distance to retreat, and Defense from Smoke activates Pathfinder as well. With Anathema, Tharja can help her team stack a lot of in-combat debuffs, though that will rely on grouped up positioning. For other skills, Life and Death is fine since Scroll of Curses grants bonus attack and speed based on flat speed. Verge of Death would be great too, but we want Slice with Sparrow's free follow-up effect, plus Tharja procs its true damage portion as well. You could run Oddspeed Wave 4 for no follow-up, but that seems like a waste since Tharja already buffs the team's speed. Try to get no follow-up somehow though from an ally. If you don't need Pathfinder, you could run Fatal Smoke or a Feud skill here to counter certain threats. If you want to be annoying, Tharja can use Winter Water Sweep. She would need some help, but it is possible to get Miracle active for her. I wouldn't bank on it without no guard. You could run 2 cooldown specials if you're worried about regular guard messing up Luna though. Now for a fun time, there could be potential for Wings of Mercy. Tharja would take massive recoil with Resonance and Fury skills. She's not going to fund under 50% HP, but with Fury 4, Fury 3, and Resonance, she will drop under 60% HP. With 50 starting HP, she actually hits 60% right on the dot, and this would trigger Wings of Mercy for her. Overall, Ninja Tharja brings some fun buffs and cooldown support while threatening with quad attacks. Resonance is an excellent firepower tool, but if Tharja can't get the KO or she can't quad, then she's probably gonna explode in one counterattack. Our next ninja is Celine. She's a Bloomful Mage this time, and for stats, Celine has 36 HP, 44 attack, 47 speed, 16 defense, and 45 res. She has an attack super boom, mostly similar to her OG form, but a decent amount of extra res this time. For old skills, Celine just has Glaciers, but she brings a couple of new variations for some older skill lines. What is mostly new is her Scroll of Tease. 8 Might Weapon, there are a lot of effects, starting with some enemy phase stuff. At start of enemy phase, Celine heals 10 HP to herself and allies within 3 spaces. After start of turn effects on the enemy phase, Celine will then neutralize stat debuffs and neutralize 2 negative statuses on herself and allies within 3 spaces. When allies fight within 3 spaces of Celine, they will gain +4 speed and res during combat and heal 10 HP after that combat. For Celine herself, she gets 2 space warping to hop around, she has a slaying dual phase brave tome, if initiating or an ally within 3 spaces, she gains bonus stats equal to 5 plus 15% of her speed from start of combat. Celine will deal true damage on hit equal to 6 times the number of allies with more than half health at the time. 3 healthy allies can grant the max 18 true damage. Finally, Celine will also heal 10 HP after her own combat. Anyone playing any kind of PvP should recognize that Celine has attuned Micaiah's penalty cleanse mechanic. There are some slight differences, mainly Celine has a 3 space range. Like Micaiah though, she cleanses 2 statuses in the order they're listed on the UI screen, and this is not going to cleanse stuff being applied at the same time. Celine also doesn't harsh command debuffs, she simply neutralizes them. If you're not familiar, this type of cleanse is extremely powerful. Most occur at start of turn like the new Harassroker has. Micaiah and now Celine's cleanse occurs after start of turn effects, which means enemy skills can apply their penalties, then Scroll of Tease will get rid of them. I believe the first 2 statuses always removed will be Panic and Exposure. You can overpower this cleanse by stacking a ton of statuses, but if you don't stack enough, then key penalties you may be relying on aren't going to be there. Celine has 2 new inheritable skills which are new stat variants for the older skill lines. Speed and Res Tempo 4 finally is here, -4 speed and res debuffs, no guard, no extra special charging, and 50% DR piercing on all hits. While Resonance is the hot new mage option for DR piercing, Tempo is really good for consistent cooldown or potentially stopping enemy specials. With Brave hits, you get the 1 cooldown on the first hit guaranteed, then perhaps proc a special on the second hit. The other reason to use Tempo over Resonance is that Resonance has an HP requirement. Celine's 36 base HP is a good bit away from the 45 or 50 HP Resonance mages want to have. With her high base res though, Celine will be deploying Speed and Res Ploy 3 at start of either phase if the user is within 5 res of the foe within 3 columns or rows. Inflict -7 speed and res debuffs, the Ploy status, and the Exposure status on those enemies. Funny enough, Celine's penalty cleanse completely hard counters Ploy. After Ploy were to activate, Celine would neutralize the debuffs and she cleanses 2 statuses, so Ploy and Exposure would normally be gone. For general playstyle, Celine provides a ton of AoE healing passively, and after each fight, she can cleanse 2 penalties after the enemy phase starts, which is a strong ability, and Celine will deploy her own Speed and Res Ploy debuffs too. If you want to run deploys, you should stack flat res, Still Water and Crystalline Water is fine. Crystalline actually blocks Panic, but this only is going to affect Celine. If you want, Celine can lean into other support skills, maybe Ploy is not what you need, so you could go back to her OG Conto Control. Outspeed Wave would be nice to get no follow-up herself, and you could run a Rally plus Ruse if you really want. However, Celine does have her own respectable combat, and Tempo 4 provides 50% DR piercing with no guard, very strong effects for a Slaying Brave Tome, and Celine can easily add 18 true damage if 3 allies have more than half HP. She's a pseudo healer trying to keep everyone healthy, so it's a generally easy condition. While Celine can support from the back, she can leap forward with her 2-space warping. If you want, you can run all the fun offensive skills like the new Slide Swift Sparrow, Flash Sparrow, Finish 4, and Desperation 4. Times Pulse would be fun to pair with Slaying Tempo for quick specials. If Celine needs to tank, she doesn't really have a ton of defensive perks. Tempo plus Guard might prevent a special, and Lagoo's Friend can offer flat DR. Unless you're going to do an Emblem Ike plus Times Pulse setup though, you're not going to have other % DR or other flat DRs to stack with. Lagoo's Friend's DR piercing specials would be nice, but with Brave attacks, I think Tempo is just fine. Overall, Ninja Celine brings over her AoE healing and adds a powerful penalty cleansing to go along with some nasty Brave attacks. She's not the craziest unit in terms of nuking, but Celine can warp in after supporting from behind to lay down some damage if needed. Ninja Diamant's looking quite spiffy. I wish we got more dual-wielding ninjas, but Diamant's chain and sickle's pretty dang cool. As a unit, he's an Axe Infantry with 40 HP, 40 attack, 38 speed, 48 defense, and 25 res. Pretty similar to his original form, and Diamant has an attack super boon. For old skills, Diamant has attack and defense finish 4, which is still only otherwise on his OG form. Diamant then brings Endless Tempest 3, which I think everyone should be well familiar with by now thanks to a certain samurai. Diamant's bold Kusari Gama is an 11 might slaying Brave Axe, no fancy support effects, but Diamant is bringing over his Fair Fight Blade. If initiating or within 2 spaces of an ally, Diamant gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus 15% of his defense from start of combat. Diamant gets true damage and flat DR equal to 25% of his in-combat defense. He gives himself and the enemy defense enough follow-up and full DR piercing on all hits. Finally, Diamant increases the speed roll for doubling both himself and the foe by plus 20. Both fighters need 25 or more speed to double naturally. For player phase only, Diamant will also get -1 instant cooldown before his first attack. If you aren't familiar, Diamant, like Lucia, can sort of change the rules of combat. He turns off all % DR effects that aren't specials, and nobody can use free follow-up skills. The only way to double is naturally outspeeding, and you're going to need 25 or more speed than the other guy. The one main difference from his OG weapon is that Diamant's flat DR now works against AoE specials. In terms of damage, Diamant might not be quadding, but he's going to be adding 25% of his defense every hit, plus he has slang and instant cooldown. Diamant can instantly proc a 2-cooldown special, or he can proc a 3-cooldown special on that second brave hit. Speaking of specials, Diamant brings a new special called Boulder. Boulder is just a defense version of Gust. It's a 3-cooldown special that boosts damage by 50% defense, so same as Bonfire. If a special was ready or triggered and the user has more defense than the enemy, then you can get 40% DR for the next attack. Like Gust, Boulder is only for sword, axe, and lance infantry units. It may not have DR piercing, but it's a more defensive option that also provides some kind of damage boost. You do need to have high defense though, so it's not a foolproof protection plan against other super bulky units. Old Diamant had a bulwark skill, and now he's going to be the first to introduce a new type of bulwark. Attack and defense spiked wall is another tier 4 bulwark B skill. It has the super obstruct effect to block melee and ranged foes from bypassing the user. It inflicts -4 attack and defense in combat. You now get true damage per hit equal to 15% of the higher of defense or res. It grants 7 flat damage reduction against first attacks with an S, and finally, you get no guard. Compared to Bulwark 4, Spiked Wall is more offensive with true damage and no guard for specials. Bulwark 4's 40% damage reduction and 7 HP sustain isn't bad, but if you don't care about % DR, or you can't use it like Diamant here, then we're going to take that 7 flat damage reduced. Interestingly, Spiked Wall may be better than Reopening if you want true damage and flat damage reduction, but mainly for brave weapon users and faster units. Those type of units only get 10% defense scaling via Reopening. You would need 70 defense to match the 7 flat DR via Spiked Wall, and obviously 15% defense scaling means slightly more damage. Spiked Wall also works for higher res units. This one is just a physical focused version. Like his OG form, Ninja Diamant tries to be fair by following the same rules as he subjects his foe to. In battle, there's going to be no % DR skills, no free follow-up attacks, and to double someone you need 25 or more speed. Ideally, Diamant is fast enough to prevent doubles even if he isn't the absolute fastest out there. This can mess up attackers who rely on multiple hits to KO. While Diamant has no % DR passives, he brings a new unpierceable 40% DR via the Boulder special. He will add that to 25% of his defense and 7 flat DR for some pretty good bulk. Thanks to Spiked Wall, Diamant can obstruct foes. Since his skill gives no guard, if they hit first, Diamant gets -1 cooldown guaranteed. This puts Slaying Boulder on 1 cooldown. With his Brave Axe, Diamant will proc it on his second hit. When initiating, this will also occur because Diamant gets the -1 instant cooldown. Remember, unlike most brave weapon users with partial DR piercing, Diamant has full DR piercing for all hits. With Spiked Wall, he will also just add 40% defense, extra damage per hit, and Finish can add another 5 too. Finish 4 also acts as a healing tool, but unless you're running times pulse or something, Diamant's not going to get 2 procs or 14 HP. Now with Endless Tempest equipped, Diamant can move 3 spaces and possibly low enemy field boss. He can get in, bomb a foe with Boulder, and then obstruct movement with Spiked Wall. For a more defensive route, you can run Fortifications to set up Divine Vein Stone. Attack and Defense Excel is another flat DR source, and Diamant is another unit who appreciates all stats, so D bonus doubler is fine. Obviously, it's going to be weak to magic damage, but if he doesn't get doubled, he has a chance to live. Maybe bring Mystic Boost for certain adaptive damage users. For enemy phase, Diamant does need an ally within 2 spaces. This will make him susceptible to stuff like Sabotage, but Spiked Wall can at least keep Diamant's team safe if they're right behind him. He would love stuff like Breath of Life 4, and even Attack Wave N isn't bad either since it also has healing. You could run these if you give Diamant the Mobility Emblem Rings. For some other skills, you may want speed stat boosters. Diamant is an excellent abuser of Frozen, but if that's not an option for you, then he needs to be fast enough to not get doubled with his increased speed roll. For attuned X skills, Times Pulse Echo would be fun in certain situations, but you could also run Nelsie Disrupt or Attack Out Echo for more damage. All in all, Ninja Diamant should be pretty fun. Messing with the speed roll can be powerful, but is plus 20 enough even with some of the crazy fast units nowadays. If you're gonna try to tank with Diamant, definitely bring healing. Maybe that's why he's sneaking to the Ninja banner alongside Celine. Last up for today is Duo Ninja Lucina and Chrom. I have to say, I love Chrom's little falchion dagger, that is pretty funny. Now as a unit, Duo Lucina is a colorless bow cav. She has 40 HP, 45 attack, 48 speed, 20 defense, and 24 res. Lucina has a speed super boon, and while not exactly a bulkier unit, she does have some defensive capabilities. For old skills, Curved Shot provides some percent DR, though Lucina will mainly be using it for damage. She has Flared Sparrow, which is fine for the flame tiles, but you can grab Tharja's Slice with Sparrow for potentially more damage. Lucina then has Shadow Shift 4, which has gotten a lot easier to use thanks to Emblem Sigurd. Lucina, however, will provide her own way to abuse it. The Elise Ninja Bow is a slaying, dual phase brave bow with 8 might. If initiating or near an ally, Lucina gets bonus stats equal to 5 plus 15% of her speed from start of combat. She deals true damage equal to X times 5. X is the number of positive statuses on Lucina, plus the number of negative statuses on the foe. If there are 5 of these total, then she gets a max 25 true damage per hit. In addition, Lucina gets 50% DR piercing, no guard, and if using offensive specials, she gains -1 cooldown after her first special trigger. This is a scary weapon because 25 true damage with a quad is 100 damage. Lucina combines this with 50% DR piercing and no guard to proc Curved Shot on the second hit, guaranteed. She then gets -1 cooldown after Curved Shot procs. We need to discuss her next skill to truly understand how good this effect is. Future focus will be Chrom and Lucina's extra action tag team assist that is, to no surprise, pretty dang good. Since it's Lucina's skill, she will use Swap as the template. After swapping, she will grant Future Witness, no follow-up, and a -1 cooldown to Lucina and allies within 2 spaces of her and the ally she swapped with. This can occur once per turn, and of course Lucina gets her extra action, also once per turn. Future Witness is a new status, and it seems Chrom's brought over some of Robin's Spectrum perks. This status grants Kanto 2, it grants +5 to all stats in combat, it reduces damage from first attacks with an S by 7. Lastly, if initiating, you get Scowl with no res checking. Future Focus is super scary. Dual Chrom being able to share cooldown with an ally without fighting was very strong, and now Lucina can share -1 cooldown with multiple allies once per turn. This also doesn't have a 4-turn limit like Dual Chrom. In addition to free cooldown, no follow-up is great, but Future Witness is a very solid all-around status. +5 stats, 7 flat DR, and Scowl is incredible. The Scowl part is player face only, but that's okay, especially for Lucina who's going to act again. You then have the ability to give multiple allies Kanto 2, which in itself is really good. If you want to use Shadow Shift, Lucina must have used Future Focus to get Future Witness. Now, going back to the Elise Ninja Bow, Future Focus will pre-charge Curved Shot. Lucina procs it, then immediately gets -1 cooldown. This means she procs a second Curved Shot on her second Brave hit. If she quads, she can get a third Curved Shot on the 4th hit. Future Focus also gives Lucina 2 statuses for her true damage. Now it isn't a dual ninja unit without the patented Ninja Gale Force dual skill. If Lucina fights in a battle, in the current turn, she gets to use this skill to get another action. We actually have some power creep this year because now the dual skill also reactivates counter effects if they were used. Suffice to say, Lucina has a lot of mobility. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the second counter usage from this dual skill should also allow a second use of Shadow Shift. By the way, this dual hero also has 215 BST for the purpose of arena scoring. Unless I missed something, we straight up skipped 210 as a bonus, so have fun with that, arena people. For a new inheritable skill, Lucina has Speed and Defense Detect. This is a B skill and essentially another tier 4 snag. For the user, inflict -4 Speed and Defense on the foe in combat. If a movement assist were to be used or targets the user, inflict exposure on the closest foe within 5 spaces of both the user and the target ally. Exposure will spread to other foes within 2 spaces of that initial target. This skill then detects the exposure status on foes. If it's active, they lose -5 Speed and Defense and any Speed and Defense field buffs during their combat. Detect comes from the Speed and Defense 3 skill line, which is on some free-to-play units. It's usable by infantry and flyers, and it's another hybrid combat and support skill. The regular tier 4 snags inflict debuffs with Sabotage to double down on said debuffs. Detect inflicts exposure, which is 10 true damage, but it then uses the status to also inflict low speed and defense with -5 stats. From my understanding, Detect effects should stack, but I think Feud will counter its effects. Another issue is that if exposure gets cleansed, this is a dead skill. Now, Detect is a mid-phase debuffing skill though. If you act immediately, it can't be cleansed, so it has its uses. Duo Lucina seems like a very good unit. The free cooldown from Duo Chrom now affects multiple allies, which is kind of insane. Future Witness is also amazing as a Kanto 2, +5 stats, 7 flat DR, and then Scowl status. You could stack that with Female Robin's Hush Spectrum. In terms of extra actions, Lucina always wants to use Future Focus. She's going to get to move again, and if she attacks, she can proc Kanto and Shadow Shift. You can then use the dual skill to move again, and then reactivate Kanto and Shadow Shift again. For combat, Lucina can pre-charge Curved Shot, then recharge it for his second Brave hit. She has 50% DR piercing and gains 5 true damage for every favorable status in that fight. Lucina gives herself 2 statuses via Future Focus, and Spinning Demons Detect inflicts Exposure. Exposure is 10 true damage itself, so Lucina gets 25 true damage per hit, and if you can find 2 more statuses, then that's up to 35 true damage. If you're quadding, that's over 100 true damage, good lord. Now this Lucina also isn't super frail. She gains bonus defense and res, and Curved Shot is 40% DR with 7 flat DR via Future Witness. It also inflicts Scowl, so Lucina can definitely tank a regular basic attack. To be a bit cheesy, you could do Miracle, because Lucina can pre-charge it without fighting. If you grab Grandpa Mard's ring, then 3 cooldown Miracle will also go to 2 cooldown with 1 Future Focus use. This can also be applied to 4 cooldown damage specials and AoEs. Lucina can facilitate a whole team of high damage bursts without anyone fighting. For other skills, Flared Sparrow is fine, but with Breath of Life around, it's mainly to set up the flame tiles. With the Gale Force dual skill, you can fight foes on the fire for extra damage, maybe add Savage Blow to further stack splash damage. Unless you want Bridge of Death, Slice with Sparrow is fine for Lucina. Why not another 5 true damage? In the B slot, Desperation with no follow-up would be scary, but many strong units are packing Hardy Bearing. You could run Speed Preempt if the tech's not something you want. Attacking Speed Prime is another enemy phase fun option, though Lucina's gonna need 2 more statuses. She could gain 1 via Demons from Smoke or Panic Smoke 4. Fatal Smoke or Fuse skills are good for countering certain threats, and Insight can be used for just pure buffs. Overall, Duo Lucina and Chrom should be respected simply for their free cooldown. Future Witness is great, and Lucina herself is quite powerful. Multiple Curved Shot, Brave hits, and not even that squishy either. That'll be it for this banner breakdown. Ninja November is as strong as ever, and there are some fun new inheritables being introduced. If you aren't up for summoning, we have a Tempest Trials going on. The reward unit is Ninja Noir, who brings our first inheritable, Brave Dagger. We'll talk about it more next time. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you in the next video.